Hey there, you're looking kind of cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out all my other socials. Enjoy. The soft carpet seemed to pull at Carl, wanting to reveal his secrets. Each step to the mirror was hard, as if the heavy air tried to stop his change. His shaking hands held the wig, a bright red-brown, and he carefully put it on his painted face. The lace headpiece, very light, sat on his head and made him look elegant, though he hardly believed it. The maid's outfit fit tightly, made of polyester. It felt both trapping and freeing. Every shape and added curve was just right, but Carl felt many things inside. The uniform hid his true self, and under it, he felt both excited and scared. "Emma, please, we can talk about—" "No talking, just painting those lips." She stepped closer, her black pumps clicking against the hardwood, where carpet ended. "You left your little collection scattered all over our bedroom. Stockings under the bed. That ridiculous pink dress hanging in the back of the closet. Did you think I was blind?" The lipstick cap rolled across the vanity as Carl's shaking hands struggled with the application. In the mirror, he watched his wife's reflection move behind him, her green eyes scanning every detail of his transformation. "I came home to surprise you with lunch." Emma's laugh held no warmth. "Imagine my surprise, finding my husband prancing around in my grandmother's pearls and a cocktail dress. They weren't your grandmother's. Does it matter?" She yanked the lipstick from his hand and gripped his chin. "Hold still." The waxy red glided across his lips with practiced precision. Emma stepped back to admire her work, then reached for the mascara. "Eyelashes next, and don't you dare blink." Carl forced himself to remain motionless as she painted his lashes thick and dark. The chemical smell made his eyes water, but he didn't move. Couldn't move. Not with the way she looked at him, like a cat toying with a mouse. "There." Emma capped the mascara and surveyed her handiwork. "Now you look like a proper maid. Speaking of which..." She walked to their bed and pulled out a feather duster from a shopping bag he hadn't noticed before. "The living room needs attention. Start there." "Emma, what are you doing?" "What am I doing?" Her voice rose. "I'm giving you what you want. You like dressing up as a woman? Fine, but you'll do it on my terms now." She thrust the feather duster into his manicured hands. When had she painted his nails? The glossy red caught the afternoon light streaming through their bedroom window. The living room, now, and walk properly, heel to toe, small steps. You wanted to be a woman? Act like one. Carl teetered toward the door, each step a concentrated effort in the unfamiliar heels. The uniform's short skirt swished against his stocking-clad thighs. Behind him, Emma's presence loomed like a storm cloud. The living room stretched before him, suddenly vast. Family photos lined the mantelpiece, their wedding, vacations, normal moments from a normal life that felt impossibly distant now. He raised the feather duster to the bookshelf, hyper-aware of how the movement made the uniform ride up. Higher. Emma had settled into the leather armchair, crossing her legs. "You missed the top shelf." Stretching on tiptoes, Carl felt the skirt inch dangerously high. His face burned beneath the foundation Emma had applied with such cold efficiency. "Tell me," she said, studying him like a specimen. "How long has this been going on?" 5 years. The admission came out as a whisper. 5 years. She repeated each word like she was tasting them. 5 years of sneaking around. 5 years of lies. "I never lied." "Omission is lying, Carl." She stood abruptly. "Or should I call you something else now? Carla? Caroline? Please don't..." "Don't what? Don't give you a woman's name to match your woman's clothes?" She circled him slowly. "You made this choice. Every time you put on a dress, every time you hid it from me, you chose this." The feather duster shook in his grip. "I tried to tell you. Remember 3 years ago? I mentioned that article about men who cross-dress? You said it was interesting. You didn't say, 'By the way, honey, I'm one of them.'" She had a point. He'd danced around the truth so many times, testing the waters only to retreat at the slightest sign of disapproval. Now, exposed in the harsh light of day, his secret felt both smaller and more enormous than ever. The coffee table needs polishing. Emma returned to her chair. There's wood polish under the kitchen sink. Each trip between rooms became a gauntlet. The heels clicked against their hardwood floors, announcing his presence. The auburn wig swayed with every movement, tickling his neck. In the kitchen, he bent carefully to retrieve the polish, aware of Emma watching from the doorway. "You're actually good at this." Her tone held genuine surprise. "The walking, I mean. How many times have you practiced?" "I don't know." He sprayed polish onto the coffee table, rubbing in careful circles. "Dozens, hundreds maybe. In our home? While I was at work." "Yes." "Did you ever—" She paused. "Did you ever go out?" His hand stilled on the cloth. "Once. To the mall. I only stayed 10 minutes. "Which mall?" "Westfield. Where we shopped together." Her laugh was brittle. "Were you hoping someone would recognize you? Is that part of the thrill?" "No." He resumed polishing with renewed vigor. "I was terrified the whole time. I just wanted to know what it felt like to be out in the world as her." "Her?" Emma stood again, pacing. "You talk about it like you're two different people." "Sometimes it feels that way." "And which one did I marry?" The question hung between them, unanswerable. Carl focused on the coffee table, polishing the same spot over and over until it gleamed. "Windows next." Emma's voice had gone flat. "I want them spotless." The afternoon sun cast long shadows as Carl moved from window to window. His feet ached in the heels, and the wig had begun to itch. But he didn't dare complain, not with Emma watching his every move, her expressions cycling between anger, hurt, and something else he couldn't identify. "We're having dinner guests tonight." She announced it casually, like mentioning the weather. The spray bottle slipped from Carl's hand, hitting the floor with a plastic thud. "What?" "The Johnsons. I invited them last week, remember? They'll be here at 7. "Emma, no, please." He retrieved the bottle, his hands shaking worse than before. "I'll do anything else. I'll clean the whole house top to bottom. You'll serve dinner." Her tone brooked no argument. "In that exact outfit. Hair, makeup, everything. They'll recognize me." "Will they?" She tilted her head, studying him. "You don't look much like Carl right now. Besides, I'll introduce you as our new maid. Carla." "This is insane." He pressed his palms against the window, leaving smudges he'd have to clean. "You can't seriously expect me to— I expect you to honor your commitment." She pulled out her phone, swiping to the camera roll. "Amazing how quickly you transformed. These photos really capture the moment." His blood ran cold. She'd been taking pictures. Of course she had. "Emma, please." "Please what? Please don't show anyone? Please keep your secret safe?" She pocketed the phone. "That's rich, coming from you." "This is different." "How?" Her voice cracked for the first time. "How is it different? You hid a fundamental part of yourself from me, your wife, the person you promised to share everything with." Tears threatened to ruin his carefully applied mascara. "I was afraid." "Of what? Of me?" "Of losing you." Silence stretched between them. Emma walked to the window he'd been cleaning, her reflection overlapping with his in the glass. "You might lose me anyway." Her voice was barely audible. "But tonight, you'll serve dinner. You'll be Carla. And maybe we'll figure out where to go from here." Carl nodded, not trusting his voice. In the window's reflection, the woman looking back at him seemed like a stranger. Auburn hair framing a painted face, black uniform crisp against pale skin. He wondered if Emma saw a stranger too. "Finish the windows." She turned away. "Then start on dinner. The recipe's on the counter. My mother's roast chicken. You know how to make it." He did know. They'd made it together countless Sunday nights, dancing around each other in the kitchen, stealing kisses between stirring and seasoning. Those memories felt like they belonged to different people now. The kitchen welcomed him with familiar scents and surfaces, though navigating it in heels added a new dimension of difficulty. He tied a white apron over the maid's uniform. Emma had thought of everything, apparently, and set to work preparing the chicken. Cooking had always calmed him. The precise measurements, the transformation of raw ingredients into something greater. Even dressed as he was, hands sporting red nails that kept catching his eye, the familiar rhythms soothed his frayed nerves, until Emma appeared with a pair of white satin gloves. "Put these on." She held them out. Maids should wear gloves when serving. The gloves slid over his hands like a second skin, elegant and constraining. He flexed his fingers, adjusting to the strange sensation. "Have you ever wanted to be a woman full-time?" Emma asked suddenly. She'd perched on one of the bar stools, watching him work. Carl paused in seasoning the chicken. "I don't know." "You must have thought about it. Thinking and wanting are different things." He slid the roasting pan into the oven. "I like being Carl. I also like being being Carla. If that's what you want to call her." "Her." Emma shook her head. "There you go again, talking about yourself in third person. It's complicated. Clearly." She drummed her fingers on the counter. "What else should I know? Any other secrets you've been hiding?" "No." He met her gaze steadily. "This is it. This is the big secret." "Some secret." She laughed, but it sounded more sad than bitter. "My husband likes to dress as a woman, and he's apparently good at it. You move more gracefully in those heels than I do." "I've had practice?" "So you said." She glanced at her watch. 2 hours until the Johnsons arrive. You should set the table." The dining room table had hosted countless dinner parties over their 6 years of marriage. Carl knew exactly where everything went. The good china, the silver inherited from Emma's grandmother, the crystal wine glasses that sang when you ran a wet finger around the rim. He moved methodically, muscle memory guiding him despite the unfamiliar weight of the uniform and the way the heels changed his center of gravity. Emma supervised from the doorway, occasionally correcting his placement of a fork or the angle of a napkin. "Lower neckline when you lean over." Her voice held an instructor's tone. "You're showing too much." Heat crept up his neck. The breast forms Emma had insisted on, pulled from the same shopping bag as the feather duster, created a cleavage he wasn't used to managing. "Better." She nodded approval. "Now the centerpiece, the white roses from the garden." Outside, the late afternoon sun painted their backyard golden. Carl clipped roses with practiced ease, their thorns catching occasionally on the satin gloves. Their neighbor, Robert, waved from over the fence. "Afternoon," Robert called out. "Emma hire new help?" Carl's throat constricted. He nodded, not trusting his voice, and hurried back inside with the flowers. "He didn't recognize you," Emma observed from the kitchen window. "Your own neighbor of 4 years didn't recognize you." "The wig helps." His voice came out higher than intended. "And the makeup, and the fact that people see what they expect to see. A maid picking flowers." She turned from the window. Not Carl in a dress, a maid. He arranged the roses in a crystal vase, their perfume filling the dining room. Everything looked perfect, elegant, inviting, normal. As if the person setting this table wasn't a husband dressed as a maid under threat of exposure. "Check the chicken," Emma commanded. "Then touch up your lipstick. It's faded." The chicken emerged golden and fragrant. He set it on the warming plate, then prepared the vegetables. Roasted carrots, green beans with almonds, the garlic mashed potatoes Emma loved. In the powder room, he studied his reflection. The lipstick had indeed faded. He reapplied it carefully, the gesture feeling more natural than it should. The auburn wig framed his face becomingly. Emma had chosen well. The color complemented his skin tone better than his natural brown hair. 10 minutes, Emma called. "Come here." She waited in the living room with a small silver tray. "You'll answer the door, take their coats, offer them drinks, then disappear into the kitchen until it's time to serve." "Emma? What?" She set the tray on the entry table. "Having second thoughts? Want to come clean to Tom and Janet about your hobby?" His silence served as answer enough. "That's what I thought." She smoothed an imaginary wrinkle from her navy dress. "Remember, you're Carla. You've been working for us for a week. You're from, let's say, Portland. Keep conversation minimal. What if they ask questions? Redirect? Offer them food? Refill their drinks?" She checked her own reflection in the hall mirror. Maids should be seen, not heard. The doorbell's chime sent ice through Carl's veins. His hand froze on the doorknob. "Answer it." Emma's voice carried steel. "Now." The door swung open to reveal Tom and Janet Johnson, their faces bright with anticipation. Tom wore a gray suit, Janet a green dress that brought out her eyes. "Good evening." The words emerged in a voice Carl didn't recognize, softer, lighter. "May I take your coats?" "Well, hello." Janet smiled warmly. "Emma didn't mention she'd hired help." "Just started this week." Emma appeared behind Carl's shoulder. "This is Carla. She's been absolutely wonderful." Carl took their coats with gloved hands, hanging them carefully in the closet. His every movement felt watched, evaluated. Would Tom notice the size of his hands? Would Janet recognize something in his walk? "Drinks?" He lifted the silver tray, proud when it didn't shake. "White wine for me." Janet settled onto the sofa. "Tom will have scotch." "Neat." In the kitchen, Carl's hands moved automatically. Wine from the fridge, scotch from the cabinet. Ice ignored per Tom's preference. He could hear conversation floating from the living room, Emma's laugh mixing with Janet's. "There she is." Tom accepted his scotch with a nod. "Thank you, Carla." Hearing the feminine name directed at him sent an odd shiver down Carl's spine. He retreated to the kitchen, pressing his back against the counter. This was insane. He was serving drinks to their friends while dressed as a maid. His wife had orchestrated this punishment with ruthless efficiency, and yet some small part of him thrilled at the deception, at moving through the world as Carla, even in this controlled environment. The fear mixed with something else, something he didn't want to examine too closely. "Carla?" Emma's voice carried clearly. "We're ready for appetizers." He'd prepared them earlier, smoked salmon on toast points, Emma's favorite. The tray balanced perfectly as he navigated back to the living room in his heels. "These look wonderful." Janet took one delicately. "Did you make them yourself?" Carl nodded, not trusting his voice for more than necessary. "She's very talented in the kitchen." Emma's smile held secrets. "Wait until you taste dinner." Back in the kitchen, Carl checked the vegetables, stirred the sauce, tried to calm his racing heart. Through the doorway, he could see the three of them chatting easily. Tom laughed at something Emma said, gesturing with his scotch. Janet tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, leaning forward to share gossip. Normal. Everything looked so normal from the outside. "Carla?" Emma appeared in the kitchen doorway. "We'll be ready for dinner in 5 minutes." She moved closer, lowering her voice. "You're doing well. Keep it up." "Emma, please." "No." Her whisper turned sharp. "You wanted to dress like a woman? Congratulations. You're dressed like a woman. Now serve our guests." She swept back to the dining room, leaving Carl alone with his thundering heartbeat. The chicken came out perfectly, as he'd known it would. He carved it with practiced precision, arranged it on the serving platter with the vegetables artfully displayed. The complete dinner looked like something from a magazine, too pretty to eat. "Oh my," Janet's eyes widened as he set the platter on the table. "This looks incredible." "Carla's been a real find." Emma's tone held layers only Carl could hear. "So dedicated to service." He served each plate carefully. Ladies first, then Tom. The routine felt almost meditative. Lean from the waist, not the shoulders. Keep the skirt from riding up. Don't let the auburn wig fall forward into the food. "Will you be joining us, Carla?" Tom asked, already reaching for his fork. "She prefers to eat in the kitchen," Emma answered smoothly. Very traditional. Carl retreated gratefully, fixing himself a small plate. He could hear their conversation continuing. Tom's promotion, Janet's sister's wedding, normal topics for normal people having a normal dinner party, nothing about the husband serving them while dressed as a maid. He picked at his food, the corset Emma had insisted on making it hard to eat much. Through the doorway, he watched his wife play hostess, her laugh genuine as Janet told a story about their vacation to France. How could she be so calm, so collected, as if her world hadn't just tilted off its axis? "More wine, Carla." Emma's voice cut through his thoughts. He retrieved the bottle, moving between the diners to refill glasses. Janet's perfume, something floral and expensive, tickled his nose as he leaned past her. "Such grace," Janet observed. "Where did you train?" Carl's mind went blank. Train? What would a maid say? "Portland," he managed, voice soft. "A private household. How wonderful. Good help is so hard to find." Janet patted his gloved hand. "Emma's lucky to have you." The touch sent electricity through him. Friendly, casual, the kind of gesture Janet would never make to Carl, but to Carla the maid, perfectly appropriate. "She certainly is." Emma's eyes met his over the table. "I don't know what I'd do without her." Dinner stretched on. Carl cleared plates, served dessert, a lemon tart he'd made that morning before his world imploded, and refilled drinks. His feet screamed in the heels, and the wig had definitely begun to itch. But he endured, playing his role with increasing confidence. "Coffee?" he offered as they finished dessert. "Decaf for me." Tom pushed back from the table. "Excellent meal. Our compliments to the chef." In the kitchen, Carl started the coffee maker, his movements automatic. How many dinner parties had he attended as himself? Dozens? More? Now he saw them from the other side, the invisible labor that made everything flow smoothly. Having fun? He spun to find Emma in the doorway, her expression unreadable. "Fun isn't the word I'd use." "No?" She moved closer. "You seem to be enjoying yourself. Very convincing performance." "I'm doing what you asked." "More than that." She adjusted his wig, fingers gentle. "You're inhabiting the role." "Janet thinks you're wonderful." "She thinks Carla is wonderful." "Is there a difference?" Emma's hand lingered on his cheek. "Right now, in this moment, are you Carl or Carla?" The question hung between them. In the dining room, Tom laughed at something Janet said. The coffee maker gurgled. Normal sounds from a normal evening, except nothing about this was normal. "I don't know." The admission came out raw. "Both? Neither?" Emma's hand dropped. "That's what scares me. Not the dressing up, not even the lying. It's that I don't know who I married anymore." She took the coffee tray before he could respond, leaving him alone with his reflection in the microwave door. The woman staring back looked tired beneath her makeup, auburn hair slightly mussed, maid's uniform still crisp, despite hours of service. "Carl or Carla?" the question echoed. "More coffee, dear?" Emma's voice drifted from the dining room. He shook off the existential crisis and returned to his duties. The evening was winding down. Tom checking his watch, Janet gathering her purse. Soon they'd leave, and then what? "Such a lovely evening." Janet squeezed Emma's hands at the door. "And your new maid is a treasure. Is she available for other occasions?" Carl froze in the act of retrieving their coats. "I'll have to check her schedule." Emma's smile gave nothing away. "But I'm sure we could work something out." "Wonderful. I'm hosting book club next month. Could use an extra pair of hands." They said their goodbyes, Tom shaking Carl's gloved hand with careful politeness, Janet air-kissing his cheek. Then they were gone, taillights disappearing down the street, leaving silence in their wake. Emma closed the door and leaned against it. "Well, that was interesting." Carl pulled off the gloves, his hands cramped from hours of careful movement. "Interesting, that's one word for it." They didn't suspect a thing. She moved past him toward the living room. "My husband served our best friend's dinner in a maid's outfit, and they didn't suspect a thing, because people see what they expect to see." He followed, each step in the heels now automatic. "No one expects Carl to be dressed as a maid. But you're not Carl right now, are you?" She collapsed onto the sofa. "You're Carla, have been all evening." He perched on the edge of the armchair, knees together as the short skirt demanded. "What happens now?" "I don't know." Emma rubbed her temples. "I need time to think, to process this." "Should I change?" "No." The word came quick and sharp. "You'll stay dressed as Carla tonight. Sleep in the guest room." "Emma? I can't share a bed with you right now." Her voice cracked. "I don't know if you're my husband or someone else entirely. I'm still me." "Are you?" She looked at him then, really looked. "Because the Carl I married would have told me about this, would have trusted me. I wanted to, but you didn't." She stood abruptly. "Clean up the kitchen. Carla, I'm going to bed." She left him alone in the living room, surrounded by the debris of a successful dinner party. Empty wine glasses, crumpled napkins, the lingering scent of Janet's perfume. Carl rose slowly, feet protesting in the heels. In the kitchen, he washed dishes methodically, finding comfort in the routine. Soap, rinse, dry. Simple actions with clear results. Unlike the mess his life had become. The kitchen restored to order, he climbed the stairs to the guest room. Each step reminded him of his transformation. The swish of the skirt, the sway of the auburn wig, the way the breast forms changed his balance. The guest room felt foreign after years of sharing the master bedroom with Emma. He sat on the bed, still in full uniform, and stared at his reflection in the dresser mirror. Carla stared back. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Conversations that couldn't be avoided. Decisions about their marriage, their future. But tonight he was Carla, the maid who'd served dinner flawlessly, who'd fooled their best friends, who'd given Emma the strangest form of revenge imaginable. He reached up to remove the wig, then stopped. Emma had said to stay dressed as Carla. Even alone, even in sleep, she wanted him to remain in character. A punishment? Or something else? Carl lay back on the guest bed, still fully dressed, staring at the ceiling. Somewhere down the hall, his wife lay in their bed, alone, processing the revelation that had shattered their normal life. Would they find their way back to each other? Could Emma accept this part of him? Could he find a way to integrate Carl and Carla into one whole person? The questions swirled without answers. But one thing had become crystal clear over the course of this surreal evening. Carla wasn't going away. Whether Emma accepted her or not, whether their marriage survived or not, this part of himself could no longer be hidden. The secret was out. The woman in the mirror was real. And tomorrow, they'd all have to figure out what that meant. The doorbell rang again, startling Carl from his thoughts. He checked the bedside clock, 11:47 p.m. Who would be visiting this late? He heard Emma's footsteps on the stairs, her voice muffled through the door. More footsteps. Multiple people? "Carla?" Emma's voice outside the guest room. "We have unexpected visitors. Come downstairs. Now." Heart pounding, Carl smoothed the maid's uniform and opened the door. Emma stood in her robe, expression unreadable. "Who?" "My sister is here, with her husband. They were driving back from the city and decided to stop by." Emma's eyes held warning. "I told them you're our live-in maid." "Emma, no, not your sister. Yes, my sister. Unless you'd prefer I tell her the truth?" She turned toward the stairs. "They're waiting in the living room. Bring tea." Carl's legs felt like water as he descended the stairs. Emma's sister Rachel had always been observant. Too observant. If anyone would see through his disguise. "There you are," Rachel's voice carried from the living room. "Emma's been telling us all about you." He entered to find Rachel on the sofa, her husband Mark beside her. Both looked tired from their drive, but curious about the late-night maid service. "Good evening." Carl kept his voice soft, eyes downcast. "I'll prepare tea." "Such formality!" Rachel laughed. "Emma, where did you find her?" In the kitchen, Carl's hands shook as he filled the kettle. This was too much. Friends were one thing, but family? Rachel had known him for 8 years. She'd been in their wedding party. The kettle seemed to take forever to boil. Through the doorway, he could hear Rachel interrogating Emma about Carla, where she'd found her, how long she'd been working there, why they'd never mentioned hiring help. Emma deflected with surprising skill, weaving a story about needing extra help with a busy work schedule. Lies built on lies, all to protect his secret, or to torture him. He still wasn't sure which. Tea prepared, he carried the tray carefully into the living room. Rachel watched him with sharp eyes, taking in every detail of his appearance. "You look familiar." She tilted her head. "Have we met before?" Carl's heart stopped. "I don't believe so, ma'am." Rachel accepted her tea, still studying him. "Something about your eyes." "Carla just has one of those faces," Emma intervened smoothly. "Everyone thinks they've met her before." "Maybe." Rachel sipped her tea. "Though I could swear..." How was the show? Emma changed the subject desperately. You saw Hamilton, right? The conversation shifted to safer ground. The musical, the traffic, the new restaurant they'd tried. Carl retreated to the corner, trying to become invisible despite the maid's uniform that made him anything but. More tea, Carla. Mark held out his cup. Carl moved forward, bending to pour. The auburn wig swung forward, and he saw Rachel's eyes narrow. That's an interesting wig. Her tone had sharpened. Very realistic. Thank you, ma'am. He straightened quickly, but Rachel was already standing. In fact, it reminds me of... She circled him slowly. Emma, can I speak to you privately? Rachel, now. The sisters disappeared into the kitchen, leaving Carl alone with Mark. Emma's brother-in-law seemed oblivious to the tension, scrolling through his phone. Great tea, Mark commented absently. You make it just like Carl does. The words hung in the air. Carl busied himself straightening already straight magazines, pulse racing. From the kitchen, voices rose. Rachel's incredulous, Emma's defensive. He caught fragments. Can't be serious. None of your business? Needs help? Everything all right in there? Mark called out, finally noticing the argument. Rachel stormed back into the living room, eyes blazing. She marched straight to Carl, stopping inches away. Take off the wig. Rachel! Emma followed, face flushed. You can't just... Take it off. Rachel's voice brooked no argument. Now. Carl's hands moved to the auburn waves, trembling. There was no point in refusing. Rachel knew. Had probably known from the moment she'd looked into his eyes. The wig came off, revealing his own short brown hair, mussed and flattened. Rachel stepped back, vindication and shock warring on her face. Carl? Mark's phone clattered to the floor. What the hell? I can explain... Emma started. Can you? Rachel whirled on her sister. Can you explain why your husband is dressed as a maid? Why you're making him serve tea to your family? It's not what it looks like. Carl's voice came out wrong, caught between his natural tone and Carla's softer register. Then what is it? Rachel demanded. Some kind of game? Are you two into whatever this is? It's complicated. Emma sank onto the sofa. Complicated. Rachel laughed bitterly. My brother-in-law is wearing a maid's outfit and full makeup, and it's complicated? Mark retrieved his phone, staring at Carl like he'd grown a second head. Dude, what? Why? He likes to cross-dress. Emma's words fell like stones into still water. I found out today this was my reaction. Your reaction was to make him serve dinner to the Johnsons? Rachel's voice rose. Emma, that's insane. Is it? Emma's composure finally cracked. I come home to find my husband prancing around in women's clothes, years of marriage, and he never told me. So yes, I made him dress up, made him see what it feels like to have your world turned upside down. By humiliating him? By giving him what he wanted. Emma stood, facing her sister. He wants to dress like a woman? Fine, but on my terms. The room fell silent. Carl stood frozen, still in the maid's uniform, wig clutched in his hands. The careful illusion of Carla had shattered, leaving him exposed as neither man nor woman, but something in between. I think we should go. Mark finally spoke, pulling Rachel toward the door. This is between you two. Mark's right. Rachel grabbed her purse, then paused. Carl, are you okay? Is she forcing you to do this? No. The word came out firm. It's consensual, sort of. Rachel shook her head. I don't understand any of this, but Emma... She turned to her sister. Be careful. Whatever's going on here, be careful. They left in a rush of awkward goodbyes and avoided eye contact. The door closed behind them with finality. Emma and Carl stood in their living room, the weight of exposure crushing. No more secrets. No more illusions. Your sister knows. Carl stated the obvious. My sister knows. Emma collapsed back onto the sofa. By tomorrow, my whole family will know. I'm sorry. Are you? She looked up at him, mascara smudged from tears he hadn't seen her shed. Or are you secretly thrilled? No more hiding. I never wanted it to come out like this. How did you want it to come out? Her laugh held hysteria at the edges. A calm conversation over coffee? Hey, honey, by the way, I like to wear dresses? Something like that. Well, too late now. She stood abruptly. Rachel's right about one thing. This is insane. As Carl turned to walk away, Emma's words echoed in his mind. Uncertainty had crept into his thoughts, and he felt a sudden urge to prove himself. With each step, the weight of the night's events pressed down on him. "Wait, Emma," he called out, spinning around. "I need you to know, regardless of my clothes, I'm committed to us. This experience made me understand the importance of embracing every aspect of ourselves, and I promise to be the man you need, dressed up or down." Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.